people come to him, come to the way of Sultan Rabia, most honored one and most glorified one, most praised one, in divine presence, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
ربي قد آتيتني من الملك وعلمتني من تأويل الأحاديث فاطر السماوات والأرض أنت ولي في الدنيا والآخرة توفني مسلما والحقني بالصالحين آمنا بالله صدق الله العظيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. إلى حضرة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وآل صحبه الكرام وإلى أرواح إخوانه الأنبياء والمرسلين وخدماء شرائهم وإلى أرواح الأئمة الأربعة وإلى أرواح مشايخنا في طريقة النقشبندية العليا خاصة إلى سيدنا عبد الخالق الخجلواني وأهل الكتب كاجغان الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. لا إله إلا الله 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 محمد حبيب الله
جس کے لیے محفل کونین سجی ہے، فردوس بری جس کے وسیلے سے بنی ہے، وہ جس کے لیے محفل کونین سجی ہے، فردوس بری جس کے وسیلے سے بنی ہے، وہ جس کے لیے محفل کونین سجی ہے، فردوس بری جس کے وسیلے سے بنی ہے، وہ ہاشمی مکی، وہ ہاشمی مکی مدنی العربی ہے، وہ میرا نبی میرا نبی میرا نبی ہے، وہ میرا نبی میرا نبی میرا نبی ہے، وہ میرا نبی ہے، وہ میرا نبی میرا نبی میرا نبی ہے، احمد ہے محمد ہے وہی ختم رسول ہے، مخدوم مربی ہے وہی واری کل ہے، احمد ہے محمد ہے وہی ختم رسول ہے، مخدوم مربی ہے وہی واری کل ہے، اس پر ہی نظر اس پر ہی نظر سارے زمانے کی لگی ہے، وہ میرا نبی میرا نبی میرا نبی ہے، وہ میرا نبی میرا نبی میرا نبی ہے، وہ میرا نبی ہے، وہ شمس و چہرہ انور کی جھلک ہے، واللیل سے جاگے سوئے حضرت کی لچک ہے، وہ شمس و چہرہ انور کی جھلک ہے، واللیل سے جاگے سوئے حضرت کی لچک ہے، عالم کو ضیا عالم کو ضیا جس کے وسیلے سے ملی ہے، وہ میرا نبی میرا نبی میرا نبی ہے، وہ میرا نبی میرا نبی میرا نبی ہے، وہ Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. 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 Allah ya Jalil, 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 Allah ya Jalal, Allah Zul Jalal, Allah Zul Jalal, Allah Zul Jalal, Allah Zul Jalal. Hasbunallah, Rabbunallah, Hasbunallah, Rabbunallah, Hasbunallah, Rabbunallah, Hasbunallah, Rabbunallah, Hasbunallah, Rabbunallah, Hasbunallah, Rabbunallah, Hasbunallah, Rabbunallah. Subhani Allah, Sultani Allah, Nabi Muhammad alayhi salam. 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 Subhani Allah, Sultani Allah. Shaykh Nazim had instructed us to read in his last days on this earthly world. And even when Moulana was lying in bed sick, he used to get his son Shaykh Bahauddin to recite this for him, and this used to bring a lot of pleasure to Moulana Shaykh Nazim. So inshallah, we should try and learn it and try and read it in honor of Moulana Shaykh Nazim. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel, ni'mal mawla wa ni'mal nasir, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل وحدنا واسقنا واسق شاننا وشان المسلمين وانصرنا على القوم المفسدين وانصر سلطان المسلمين سلطان الإنس والجن سيدنا المهدي عليه السلام. أظهره الله أجابنا الله أجله الله أجابنا الله أيده الله أجابنا الله أكرمه الله أجابنا الله أنصره الله أجابنا الله. من زاد عن سورة الفاتحة.
ان کا کرم ہے، ان کے کرم کی بات نہ پوچھو. ظاہر میں تزکین دل و جان، باطن میں معراج دل و جان. ظاہر میں تزکین دل و جان، باطن معراج دل و جان. نام نبی پھر نام نبی ہے، نام نبی پھر نام نبی ہے. نام نبی کی بات نہ پوچھو، نام نبی پھر نام نبی ہے. نام نبی کی بات نہ پوچھو. ان کا کرم پھر ان کا کرم ہے، ان کے کرم کی بات نہ پوچھو. اور میں کیا اور کیا میری حقیقت، سب کچھ ہے سرکار کی نسبت. سب کچھ ہے سرکار کی نسبت. میں تو برا ہوں لیکن میں تو برا ہوں لیکن میری لاج ہے کس کے ہاتھ نہ پوچھو. میں تو برا ہوں لیکن میری لاج ہے کس کے ہاتھ نہ پوچھو. ہمارا نبی پھر ہمارا نبی ہے، ہمارے نبی کی بات نہ پوچھو. خالد میں صرف اتنا کہوں گا کہ جاگ اٹھا اشکوں کا مقدر. خالد میں صرف اتنا کہوں گا کہ جاگ اٹھا اشکوں کا مقدر. یاد نبی میں روتے روتے، یاد نبی میں روتے روتے کیسی کٹی ہے رات نہ پوچھو. ہمارا نبی پھر ہمارا نبی ہے، ہمارے نبی کی بات نہ پوچھو. ان کا کرم پھر ان کا کرم ہے، ان کے کرم کی بات نہ پوچھو.
نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم ورسوله النبي الأمين المكين الحنين الكريم الرؤوف الرحيم. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الله تعالى في شأن حبيبه إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما تحب وترضى أن تصلي عليه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. كونوا ربانيين. صدق الله العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Most respected elders, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. In one of the most defining lectures in the latter days of Shaykh Nazim Adil, he instructed all his murideen, his spiritual disciples, to adhere and to apply the Quranic commandment which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has instructed every believer to apply, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, Kunu Rabbaniyyin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has instructed us to become people of the Lord, the Lord's people. Kunu Rabbaniyyin. And this was his instruction to his spiritual disciples, that they should ardently follow this Quranic advice and Quranic instruction to become the people of their Lord, or the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we look at this verse of the Holy Quran, Hibrul Ummah and Ra'isul Mufassirin, the cousin of the Holy Prophet Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, in a tafsir which he gave, which is narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari, in his commentary on this verse, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu stated, he said, become hukama, become ulama, become fuqaha, meaning become people of justice, of jurisprudence, right? Become people of knowledge, become people of fiqh, meaning become people of knowledge on all spheres of Islamic knowledge. And he says, they are Rabbani, Kunu Rabbaniyin. Rabbaniyin is a plural, singular is Rabbani. A Rabbani is he who, before teaching the high levels of knowledge, imparts the easy and the basic levels of knowledge first. And in another narration, Abdullah ibn Abbas also narrated from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he narrated that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, he said, every male or every female, every freedman, every slave, whoever you may be, had a right and a duty to fulfill towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that right and duty that you have to fulfill towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that you need to acquire the knowledge of the Holy Quran. And after acquiring the knowledge of the Holy Quran and studying it, thereafter what you need to do is, once you've acquired this knowledge and you studied the Holy Quran there, then you need to go out there and impart this knowledge to the people. And then he recited the verse, Kunu Rabbaniyin, become the people, the Lord's people. And then the various other tafsirs and commentaries by great commentators of the Holy Quran, I'm going to put all of those commentaries put together and give you 5 categories and 5 requirements that every person needs to fulfill in order to qualify as Kunu Rabbaniyin, or become a Rabbani. To become a Rabbani, one of the people of the Lord, or from the Lord's people, Kunu Rabbaniyin. The first, as Abdullah ibn Abbas stated, is intellectual activism. We need to become active Muslims. Right? For us, if we have this misconception that spirituality, right, acquiring qurb of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, means that you confine yourself only to ceremonial or ritual acts of worship, whether it is obviously the fara'id, right, and it's wajibat and the sunnah, but more than nawafil, right, and engaging in dhikr, engaging in khatmul hajjah, engaging in all of these activities, and distancing yourself and secluding yourself from the rest of the activities of the world, then we have a wrong notion of spirituality. Because the Holy Prophet ﷺ, clarifying this matter about a person who purely engages in ritualized and ceremonial acts of worship, right, he called him an abid, and the Prophet said a worshipper. And the Prophet ﷺ said, فَضْلُ الْعَالِمِ عَلَى الْعَابِدِ كَفَضْلِي عَلَى أَدْنَاكُمْ. The Prophet ﷺ creating this distinction between people who just engage in ritualized and ceremonial acts of worship. He said the superiority of a learned man and the superiority of a scholar over a worshipper is like my superiority over an ordinary person amongst you. He created the distinction. And he wanted people to become active Muslims. And the first requirement was intellectual activism. And intellectual activism from the perspective of learning the Holy Quran, applying the Holy Quran, and living the Holy Quran and imparting this knowledge so that you qualify either as a scholar or you qualify as a jurist, or you qualify as a person who's a person of wisdom from the perspective of being a high court judge, a qadi in the court and engaging in dispensing justice and rulings, or it can be from people who impart wisdom and knowledge to people. That's the first requirement of being a rabbani. The second category is that which is called religious activism. And these are the things that Shaykh Nazim Adil expected of his murids to do, because he was a person who followed Quran and Sunnah and gave the teaching of Quran and Sunnah and nothing beyond the teaching of the Quran and Sunnah. And these are all from Quran and Sunnah. The second requirement of becoming a rabbani is religious activism. And religious activism means that you become actively involved in da'wah work, in inviting people and calling people to Islam. And the Holy Quran says, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. And the Quran says, أُدْعُ إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ. Invite people to the way of your Lord. بِالْحِكْمَةِ, with wisdom, وَالْمَوْعِظَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ, and good counsel and advice. وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ, and engage with them in the best and most excellent ways. This is the second requirement for being a rabbani, which is religious activism, to be actively involved in inviting people to Islam, in bringing people to Islam, in winning people to Islam. The third is spiritual activism. And spiritual activism starts with one's self. When you engage in fighting against your ego, fighting against the wounds and desires of your flesh, fighting against your enemy, verily shaitan is man's open and avowed enemy. Fighting against everything that takes you towards evil. You have to engage with jihad with yourself and work on yourself in spiritual activism, and this requires daily effort. Any person who goes to the gym in order to gain good health and pick up weight and muscles and whatever it is there, requires a daily commitment. Not a weekly commitment, not a monthly commitment, not an annual commitment that if you think, I did my weekly dhikr and I attended the annual Urs function there, I fulfill my spiritual requirements for the rest of the year, or the rest of the week, or the rest of the month. It requires daily committed effort. Istiqamah, steadfastness in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is critical. After, most importantly, fulfilling your fara'id and your wajibat and your sunnah, thereafter you need to be fulfilling all your nawafil, because without this spiritual activism and spiritual development and being spiritually active, you're not going to get anywhere. You can't do da'wah without that. If you yourself have not cleansed your heart, if you yourself haven't turned your heart into a mirror where La ilaha illallah is reflected there, you can't bring the nur of La ilaha illallah to anybody else's heart. And you can't engage in spiritual activism without ilm. قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ? Are the people who know equal to those who don't know? An abid who's a jahil, a worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is ignorant of the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is a danger to himself and a danger to others, because he worships without any knowledge. So this is critical spiritual activism. That's the third level of becoming a rabbani. The fourth level of becoming a rabbani, I discussed intellectual activism, religious activism, spiritual activism. The fourth one is social activism. And social activism comes from this level here, wherein you involve yourself in the upliftment of society. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked in the first few ahadith of Sahih al-Bukhari in Kitab al-Iman, أن رجلا سأل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أي الإسلام خير يا رسول الله? Which practice of Islam is best? So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, تطعم الطعام وتقرأ السلام على من عرفت ومن لم تعرف. Meaning, he said, the greatest practice of Islam, the best practice of Islam is to feed food to the poor. And وَتَقْرَأُ السَّلَامِ, and to convey salams to those that you know and that you don't know. This salam can be from the formal greetings, assalamu alaikum, and extends to spreading the message of peace. Because al-Muslimu man salima al-Muslimuna min lisani wa yadi. The Prophet ﷺ said, a Muslim is the definition of a Muslim is he from whom others are safe from verbal and physical abuse. This is the fourth requirement, social activism. And what does social activism require? Social activism doesn't require of you to be a great that day going out there and feeding people and becoming part of this feeding scheme and that feeding scheme and doing everything inside there to gain name and fame. These are one of the obstacles. If you want to become a rabbani, you also face obstacles, and most of the obstacles are personal obstacles. Your motivation for social activism, spiritual upliftment, and poverty alleviation. Quran tells you, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. If we doing all of the social activism in terms of poverty alleviation, in going out there and caring for the poor and the needy and so on, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. Verily, whatever we do, the feeding of food that we do it for Allah. لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. We have no wish for any reward for this, recompensation for this. وَلَا شُكُورًا. Nor do we want shukr and gratitude from the people that we fed food to. This is the degree of khulus and sincerity that is required. This is critical. And today, these things are missing. These things are missing. It's a package deal. And the problem is today, unfortunately, we want to become rabbani, we want to become close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we want to acquire the title, right? And we want to put on the garb without having fulfilled the mandate of being rabbani. Without having fulfilled the mandate of being rabbani. Ask yourself, am I fulfilling this Quranic directive of being a rabbani by having acquired knowledge? Have I fulfilled that? Have I fulfilled my intellectual activism from the perspective of being one of those people who has knowledge? And then spiritual activism by working on myself. And then religious activism by inviting others to Islam. And then social activism by being engaged in the upliftment of the poor and the needy. These are the cornerstones. You know the four pillars. Right? Four pillars. Burning generally built on four basic pillars. These are the four foundational pillars of being a true rabbani. But there are also other pitfalls which you need to be aware of. We see religion, deen, and acquiring tafaqquh fi deen, right? Knowledge of deen, and understanding of deen, and becoming spiritualized, or becoming religious, or becoming a religious scholar, or being actively involved in da'wah, or feeding schemes. These are some of the various categories when people become involved for the sake of deen. Comes with a few pitfalls, and many of us could be prone or vulnerable to these pitfalls. Let me inform you what are the pitfalls if you wish to become a rabbani. They're not going to become easy. The biggest pitfall is this one here. The Prophet ﷺ says, this hadith in Tirmidhi Sharif, the Prophet ﷺ says, مَا ذِئْبَانِ جَائِعَانِ أُرْسِلَا عَلَىٰ غَنَمٍ لِأَفْسَدَ لَهَا مِنْ حِرْسِ الْمَرْءِ عَلَى الْمَالِ وَالشَّرَفِ لِدِينِهِ. Or kama qala alayhi salatu wasalam. The Prophet ﷺ gave an analogy. He said, two hungry wolves let loose upon a flock of sheep cause less harm than the harm that is caused by a man's desire and greed for wealth and name and fame in his deed. Let me repeat that hadith. Two hungry wolves let loose upon a flock of sheep cause less harm than the harm that is caused by a man's desire and greed for wealth. And what was the second one? وَالشَّرَفِ لِدِينِهِ, and nobility and honor in his deed. You may think that I'm becoming a rabbani. I have acquired the ilm. I have acquired the ilm of fiqh and tafsir and hadith. Or you may think, I engage in dhikr and khatm al-khajaga and muraqaba and this and that, and I'm engaging in nawafil and tahajjud. And you may think, no, I'm inviting people to Allah, and I'm bringing people to Islam, and mashallah, I'm doing this feeding scheme, and I'm helping out this cause here, this relief effort here, and I'm doing this and all of these things here. And you feel good about yourself.
People come out and say, wow, what work he's doing in the social upliftment field. And wow, look what a great scholar he is. MashaAllah, look what a parhezgar, a pious person is in the masjid all the time. And someone will say, wow, what a great person of da'wah he is, such a great da'i and everything. All of that, you may be deluding yourself into believing you could do something great. But deep down, your desire is وَالشَّرَفِ لِدِينِ, because you want to be honored by virtue of the religiosity that you possess, or the spirituality that you possess, or your social activism, or your intellectual level that you've acquired. All of that are destructive to your spirituality and your spiritual being. So be aware of the pitfalls and the obstacles. The Prophet ﷺ said, people want to become close to Allah, so they take the spiritual path. And the greatest aim that you can require is the knowledge of Allah. Everything else is literally put into the aim of Allah. Everything else is commentary. The real aim is the aim of Allah, the knowledge of Allah, as the Holy Prophet ﷺ has articulated it to us. Many people want to get onto the spiritual path. No, I want to get closer to Allah. I want to engage in the spiritual path. I want to fight my ego and whatever it is. But Prophet ﷺ also warned, Man talaba al-ilm. This is the ilm that you require in terms of tafsir, Quran, hadith, fiqh, whatever it is. And of course, ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Man talaba al-ilm liyujariya bihi al-ulama. Whosoever acquires knowledge in order to argue and debate with scholars. That's his motivation. I want to become a Mawlana, I want to become a scholar, I want to become a Shaykh, I want to become a Pir, so that I can sit there and I can sit and debate with the scholars about Yajuz and Na-Yajuz. Only Yumariya bihi sufaha, or for that matter, to contend with the fools. To show how great he is amongst the fools. To show in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So if he wants to do that, to show how great I am, so he got everyone, oh, big alim. Or يصرف به وجوه الناس إليه. Or he acquires this knowledge to incline the people's attention towards him. Oh wow, subhanallah, what a great Shaykh, what a great Pir, what a great Mawlana. He's got so many murids, mashallah, he's got so many students, subhanallah. To get that there, أَدْخَلَهُ اللَّهُ النَّارِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will throw him into that fire. If you thought spirituality and the acquisition of spirituality was a walk in the park, right? And you get deen and dunya by virtue of it. Or if you thought taking the spiritual path there will be a resolution to all the domestic problems and all the financial problems, and you'll have a spiritual agony uncle or aunt, right? Who'll resolve all your marital problems and all your personal problems and all your excess baggage, and you took it all for all of those reasons. They ask yourself, Allah, if your niyyah is not right, how do you expect to advance any forward? And you've got to ask yourself, how far and how much have I improved? And if the answer is in the negative, ask yourself first why. We are very prone to blame everybody else for our own shortcomings. We are very prone to look at the faults of others. We are very prone to judge. We are very prone to be critical. Right? We get caught up, and these are some of the perils. We get caught up in the whole, the whole, what's the nice word for it? In the whole chakkar, they say, in the whole rigmarole. Right? Oh, I'm part of the tariqah, and then you get caught up in logistics. You know what the logistics is? Who is the Amir? Who is the chairman? Who is the deputy chairman? Who's going to be the chief? Who's going to be the Indian? No, I'm the one who's closest to the sheikh. No, I'm the teacher's pet. Right? I know the most amount of Quran. I know the most amount of dhikr. I spend the whole night in tahajjud. Right? I'm doing the work of da'wah. No, I'm feeding the food of the poor. As long as the I is there, you are nobody. You are nobody. And 99.9% of us, God help us, inshallah, fall into that category. We've become so self-absorbed that we forget that this whole spiritual part is about losing oneself. And I'm going to conclude with one statement that Moulana Shaykh Nazim Adil said precisely about this. We ask to be no one and to be nothing. We ask Allah to be no one and to be nothing. For as long as we are something, we are incomplete. As long as we have something, we are incomplete. So become rabbanis, become people of your Lord, become Allah's people. And Allah's people requires sacrificing yourself, sacrificing your pulse, sacrificing your time, sacrificing everything that is dear to you, because that is the requirement of love. And do it out of love. We lack love. Really, we lack love. Allah gives the tawfiq hidayah, inshallah. Made this sitting and this gathering here, the Prophet ﷺ narrated in the hadith, and it's a long hadith of Sahih Muslim and Bukhari and so on, with different narrations there. The Prophet ﷺ stated that after the malaika who are present in this function right now, I can tell you this with 300% confidence, because Sadiqul Wa'adul Amin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, malaika are present here. When this assembly of dhikrullah ends, malaika are going to travel into the court of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah, in spite of knowing, will ask, where are you coming from? And they will inform, Ya Allah, we came from a majlis of dhikr, an assembly of dhikr. The Prophet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked, what were they asking? Then they will say they were seeking out your Jannah. They say, Allah, have they seen my Jannah? And in another nation, have they seen me? I'll give you the gist of ahadith or so many, right? They say, no, Ya Allah. What if they saw my Jannah? What if they don't? They'll ask me more. And Ya Allah, what else would they, what were they doing? They were making the speed, takbir, tahmeed, and tahleel, and so on. That's what we were doing. And then asked, they saw my Jannah? No. What would they do? They would desire more. Then he said, what were they seeking a refuge from? And Allah, the Malaika, Ya Allah, they were seeking a refuge from Jahannam, from the fire of hell. Have they seen Jahannam? They said, no, Ya Allah. What would they do if they saw Jahannam? And Allah, they say, Ya Allah, they would seek refuge from it even more, Ya Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs the Malaika to say, oh Malaika, you bear witness and bear testimony to this fact, that every single member of that assembly, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was being remembered, I have forgiven them. Allah, but I have forgiven them. When they make this statement, one angel from amongst the angels say, Ya Allah, Inna rajulan, ma kana minhu. Ya Allah, there was one man there who was not from amongst them. Look at the words, O Kamakha. He was not from amongst them. Right? He came there and sat because he had a need, an earthly need. He had a problem, he had a difficulty, he had this one here, he had that, whatever it is. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, even him, in spite of the fact that he just came there because he had an ulterior motive. Allah said, by virtue of the company of the people that he was sitting with, who were remembering Allah, Allah said, I forgive you this one. In another narration, Ya Allah, one of the Malaika said, Ya Allah, there was one called Abdul Khattab. There was a major sinner of a great guna. فَمَرَّ بِمَجْلِسِ فَجَلَسَ. He passed by the gathering and he came and sat down. Major sinner. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, even him I have forgiven. Because the people who sit in the company of those people who remember Allah and who make the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they can never be unfortunate, they're always lucky. So they're always fortunate in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah give all for the tawfiq and hidayah. Allah grant us true love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, true love of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and true love of those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, and the love of those good deeds which will bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa akhir ta'ala bihamdillah. We'll ask you to please stand for salam. And we'll conclude the program. There are refreshments after the day. May Allah bless those people who do get to partake of the refreshment. Please do partake of the inshallah.
Sufa jane rahmat bina khosa